Hello, my name is Apollo and welcome to Pantheon Talks. Today we are doing another first impressions videos where I will give you my initial thoughts on a Webtoon original series, the good, the bad, and the ugly. For this video, the series we will be talking about is Made of Stardust. Alright, let's dive in. Instantly, from the thumbnail, before even opening the series to read, I could tell the characters were going to be extremely pretty. Then I clicked to begin reading, and from the very first panel, I could only think one word, which would be my entire feeling throughout the entire series: it's beautiful. From the characters, the humans and non-human characters, to the backgrounds, to the special effects that seamlessly blend into one another, it's just breathtaking. Seriously, this series would be one of my top recommendations if a creator ever wanted to learn how to blend panels together to create an exquisite reading experience. Right away, I felt like I was being swept away into a fantasy series, gearing up towards an epic tale. The story's vibe really impresses on me an old school Disney vibe, like very high quality storybook. I felt like it had hints of Sleeping Beauty and Snow White. It was very magical and just beautiful. However, the real star of the show is the main character, Kalisa. Not only is she beautifully designed, but everything about the character radiates ethereal and otherworldly. The most interesting thing about this character is she seems to be some sort of otherworldly creature. The story refers to her as a star that is very powerful. It seems she's able to bend reality to her will or has some sort of high tier magical abilities. Kalisa often seems to refer to herself as a cursed star and simply wants to return home to the stars. After literally being shot out of the sky and landing on a planet, she's found by a king, which at first I'm thinking this is going to be a romance story, a love at first sight. But by the end of episode 3, we discovered that the king is power hungry and desires to use this creature of great power as an object only meant for him. Basically, he's trying to increase his own power. Possibly he's trapped her in his kingdom as some sort of powerful object, sort of puppet that he wants to control. And this is where I think, oh no, she's going to turn into some sort of subservient, submissive type role, maybe even a slave, which I really feel could make for an interesting story. The exploration of being held captive by your savior. So many questions come to mind, which I can only imagine would have an extremely powerful effect on all of Kalisa's relationships going forward. Can she escape from the person who quote unquote rescued her? Can she trust another person's kindness? Can she say no to the king's request? Or does she feel obligated? Does she feel indebted to him where she can't say no? I hope this story can dive deep into the characters' feelings. As humans, we often base a lot of our relationships on the experiences that we have with other people from our past. However, when you have no past, when do you know that something is wrong? I feel like this relationship will quickly become very complicated. And that's just the first 3 episodes. The episodes are very short, and side note, I'm not trying to say that that's a bad thing. I will say this series for some may read better if they can binge read the series because the pacing is slower. The story is a complete treat and it's really easy to read. It's literal eye candy. Every panel is gorgeous and I feel there are probably a number of little details that I miss. All of the panels seem to flow and blend into one another perfectly. I think the artist does an excellent job of making the reader feel very immersed in the story. It made me feel almost like I was watching a series opposed to reading it. I don't know if that makes sense, but for those who know, you know. I think this series has a lot of charm. It seems to be very focused on characters, especially internally, and growing relationships. So if you're looking for a grand epic fantasy adventure, then this story so far has not yet revealed itself to focus on those things, despite having high fantasy elements like magic and dragons, mystic ruins, etc. You know, the whole 9 yards for a fantasy genre type story. As of this recording, I've read 9 episodes, and much of it seems to be very focused on the reader getting to know Kalisa and gearing us up to be invested in her past, her future, and how she's connected to the current world and the stars above. As a character, she seems to be very kind and soft, if you know what I mean. From design to personality. Although I do think the character will eventually grow to have a slight edge, it's very much giving Rapunzel from Tangled's personality mixed with Elsa's show yourself sort of aesthetic. I'm sorry, but the story just gives me all the Disney princess vibes, and yet it's nothing like a Disney princess. Oh, I forgot to mention, I think the character has some sort of form of amnesia, question mark? I don't know, it could be some sort of like, you know, spell cast on her, considering the way she acts. Sometimes she seems very clueless about a number of things that she should be familiar with. For instance, an individual recognizing her. And if you know who I'm talking about, do I see possible love interests here? Leave me a comment down below on what you think. I think character-driven stories can be some of the best case studies for certain personality types and can really create a unique perspective which allows readers to have a different view from their own. The creator, Kalima, I think does an excellent job crafting the world, creating a lot of mystery and intrigue from the very beginning of the story about this special fallen star named Kalisa. So my verdict, I think the series has a lot of potential. I think it sets up the foundations to develop into something very timeless and can be the blueprint for other creators in this kind of visual immersive storytelling. In all honesty, this is not a series I would read weekly, but it's definitely something I could come back to for binge reading. I find myself very intrigued by what will happen with this fallen star sort of situation. So if you're interested in the series, there is a link to the description down below. Please check out Made of Stardust on Webtoons and be sure to support the creator, Kalima, and their team on Webtoon and all of social media. Also, if you have read Made of Stardust, then tell us, what are your thoughts on this webtoon? And if you have any webtoons you'd like to hear our thoughts on, then please tell us which ones in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, leave us a like, a comment, and most definitely ring the bell. We'd like to give a huge thank you and shout out to our patrons. If you would like to support us while getting some extra content we don't post on Instagram or YouTube, then head on over and check out our Patreon. Alright, I'll catch you in the next video.